Deion Sanders' Colorado future following blowout loss. The spectacle ended not with a bang, but with the deafening silence of a humbled home crowd and the brutal, unforgiving arithmetic of the scoreboard. For weeks, Boulder, Colorado, had been the undisputed center of the American sports universe. The prime effect was in full swing, a traveling carnival of Hollywood celebrities, sold-out stadiums, and staggering television ratings, all orbiting the gravitational pull of one man, Deion Sanders. The Colorado Buffaloes weren't just winning. They were a cultural phenomenon, a weekly testament to the power of belief, branding, and a coach who moved with the swagger of a rock star. Then came the blowout, a 45-7 dismantling at the hands of a conference powerhouse. A game that wasn't just a loss, but an exposure. The opponent, a well-oiled machine of a program, systematically attacked every weakness the Buffaloes had managed to conceal with offensive fireworks and sheer star power. The offensive line, a concern all season, finally broke. The lack of defensive depth, a known issue, became a glaring liability. For the first time, the prime shine was dulled by the gritty, unglamorous reality of high-level college football. In the immediate aftermath, the predictable narratives began to swirl. Was the honeymoon over? Was the prime effect a bubble that had just burst? Does this loss signal the beginning of the end for the most audacious experiment in modern college sports? The answer, however, is far more complex. This blowout loss is not the end of the Deion Sanders story at Colorado. Instead, it is the end of the first chapter, the chapter on hype, spectacle, and belief. Now begins the far more difficult and defining chapter, the one about building. The future of Colorado football and Deion Sanders' legacy as a head coach will be determined not by how he handles success, but by how he navigates the stark, humbling clarity that only a humbling defeat can provide. The anatomy of the exposure, what the loss revealed. To understand the future, one must first dissect the failure. The blowout was not a fluke. It was a diagnosis. It laid bare the structural deficiencies that were always lurking beneath the surface of the Buffalo's meteoric rise. The war in the trenches is still decisive. Deion Sanders built his roster like a master marketer, acquiring dazzling skill position talent through the transfer portal. He got his stars, quarterback Shedeur Sanders and two-way phenom Travis Hunter. But college football games are still fundamentally won and lost on the offensive and defensive lines. Against a top-tier opponent with a roster built over years of traditional recruiting, Colorado was physically dominated. Shedeur Sanders was under relentless pressure, and the Buffalo's defensive front was incapable of stopping the run or generating a pass rush. The loss was a brutal reminder that you can't portal your way to elite line play overnight. It requires years of development, strength, and conditioning, and recruiting a specific type of unglamorous, hard-nosed athlete. The transfer portal is a double-edged sword. Coach Prime's unprecedented roster overhaul, bringing in over 80 new players, was a stroke of genius for generating immediate excitement and a baseline of talent. However, the blowout exposed the downside of this strategy: a severe lack of depth. When a starter went down or simply needed a breather, the drop-off in talent was precipitous. Established programs have layers of talent, with 4-star recruits from 2 and 3 years ago serving as backups. Colorado has stars, and then it has question marks. This model is thrilling when the stars are shining, but fragile and unsustainable against opponents who can exploit every link in the chain. Culture is forged in adversity, not just victory. The "I believe" and "we coming" ethos is powerful when you're winning. It fuels confidence and creates a palpable energy. But a true, lasting program culture reveals itself in the moments after a punch in the mouth. How does the team respond to adversity? Do players start pointing fingers? Does the belief waver when the path gets hard? The blowout loss forces the program to move beyond slogans and confront the difficult work of building genuine resilience and accountability, qualities that can't be bought in the portal or generated by a media blitz. 2. The prime playbook for failure: turning a loss into leverage. To assume Deion Sanders is discouraged by this loss is to fundamentally misunderstand the man. Where others see a setback, Prime sees a strategy. He will not retreat. He will reload, and he will use the loss itself as his most powerful tool. The recruiting infomercial. His message to the nation's top recruits in the hours after the game will be brutally direct and incredibly effective. To a 5-star offensive tackle. Did you see that game? Did you see my son get hit all day? That's your starting left tackle spot. We don't need you to wait your turn. We need you to start tomorrow. Come be the man who protects the most valuable asset in college football. To a 4-star defensive end. You saw them run the ball down our throats. That's your job. You're not coming here to be a backup. You're coming here to be the difference. They saw our weakness. Now, let them see you be the solution. This loss is now his proof of concept. He no longer has to sell the idea of playing time. He can show recruits 60 minutes of game film that screams, opportunity. The roster reevaluation, The Purge, Part 2. Sanders is famously unsentimental. He has stated that his loyalty is to winning, not to individual players. This loss provides him with the perfect justification to once again clean house. Players who did not perform up to his standard will be subtly, or not so subtly, encouraged to re-enter the transfer portal. He will use the loss as a data point to identify who is truly part of the long-term solution and who was just a temporary fix. He will go back into the portal, but this time with a laser focus on the trenches and defensive depth, the very areas the blowout exposed. Controlling the narrative. Deion will not appear defeated in his press conferences. He will be defiant, confident, and focused. He will acknowledge the failure but frame it as a necessary step. We had to see where we really were, he might say. Now we know. The work starts now. Some of y'all stopped believing. I didn't. By maintaining his unshakable confidence, he prevents the negative media cycle from taking root and reassures recruits and his fan base that the vision is still intact. 3. The crossroads. 2 paths for Colorado's future. The blowout loss has placed the Colorado program at a critical juncture. From here, 2 distinct paths emerge. Path A, the flash in the pan. In this scenario, the loss is the beginning of a downward spiral. The media hype fades as the team racks up more losses against tough competition. Top recruits, while intrigued by the offer of playing time, ultimately choose more stable, proven programs. The prime effect becomes a punchline, a cautionary tale about building a program on style over substance. Frustrated by the slow grind of building a roster from the trenches out, Deion Sanders grows restless. After another season or 2, he leverages his celebrity into a higher-profile job, perhaps in the NFL or at a blue-blood college program with existing infrastructure. Leaving Colorado to pick up the pieces, its brief moment in the sun a distant memory. Path B, the foundation is forged. In this scenario, the blowout is the most important thing that could have happened. It acts as a crucible, burning away the hype and revealing the real work. It humbles the team and focuses the coaching staff. Sanders successfully uses the loss to recruit the Hogs, the big, unglamorous linemen who win championships. The 2024 and 2025 recruiting classes are less about flashy portal acquisitions and more about foundational high school prospects who can be developed over time. The team becomes tougher, deeper, and more resilient. They may not generate as many headlines, but they start winning the games that matter. Colorado evolves from a media spectacle into a legitimate, sustainable football power. In this version of the future, Deion Sanders proves he is not just a marketer and a motivator, but a true program builder. This path solidifies his coaching legacy and turns Colorado into a perennial contender. Conclusion: the ultimate test has begun. The future of Colorado football does not hinge on avoiding losses. It hinges on how the program responds to them. The blowout was an inevitable reality check for a program attempting an unprecedentedly rapid ascent. It did not expose Deion Sanders as a fraud. it exposed the difficulty of his task. The initial hype was enough to put Colorado on the map and attract transcendent talent. But hype cannot block a 300-pound defensive tackle. Hype cannot create depth on a roster. Now, the real test begins. Can Coach Prime pivot from celebrity promoter to gritty program builder? Can he convince the nation's best linemen to join a project that will require patience and hard work? Can he build a culture that withstands adversity, not just one that thrives on applause? The blowout loss was the end of the fairy tale, but it may very well be the beginning of a championship story. The world will be watching not to see if Deion Sanders can create excitement, but to see if he can build something that lasts. His future and Colorado's depends on it.